students, already in the previous class, we have learned the salivary glands. So what are the types of salivary glands? S. Parotid gland, sublingual gland and submaxillary gland. Then saliva contains an enzyme called dash. What's that? Ptyalin. Then small intestine is divided into three parts. What are they? Duodenum, jejunum and ileum. And now today in this video we are going to see the remaining parts of digestive system. The first one is liver. So when you are taking the liver, it's the largest digestive glands. So liver, it's the largest digestive gland. It is reddish in color and is divided into two main lobes, the right and the left lobes. On the undersurface of the liver, there is gallbladder. On the undersurface of the liver, there is gallbladder, and this liver, it secretes a juice called as bile juice. The liver secretes a juice called bile juice, and this bile juice, it is temporarily stored in the gallbladder. Okay, the bile juice, it is temporarily stored in the gallbladder. Now coming to the components of bile juice. So when you are taking the components of bile juice, this bile juice, it is formed of bile salts and bile pigments. So what are the components of bile juice? They are bile salts and bile pigments. Now the bile salts, they are sodium glycolate. The bile salts are sodium glycolate and sodium taroglycolate. Sodium glycolate and sodium taroglycolate. So what are bile salts? They are sodium glycolate and sodium taroglycolate. Now coming to bile pigments. So what are bile pigments? They are bilirubin, and biliverdin. So bilirubin and biliverdin. Now this bile salts, it helps in digestion by a process called emulsification. So bile salts, it helps in digestion of fats by a process called emulsification. So emulsification means conversion of large fat droplets into small ones. So the next one is functions of liver. So it controls the sugar and amino acid level. Again, it synthesizes fetal red blood cells. At the same time, it destroys the red blood cells. In the liver, the red blood cells are destroyed. We know the lifespan of RBC is 120 days. So after 120 days, this red blood cells, it will be destroyed in the liver. And again, it stores iron, copper, vitamin A, D. Then it is producing fibrinogen. So this fibrinogen is nothing but a plasma protein. So fibrinogen, it is a plasma protein which is responsible for clotting of blood. And also this liver, it is helpful for the excretion of toxic substances. So again, coming to the functions of liver, it controls the sugar and amino acid level. It synthesizes the fetal red blood cells. It destroys the red blood cells. Again, it stores iron, copper, vitamin A, D. Then it produces a fibrinogen, which is responsible for clotting of the blood, and also it helps in excretion of toxic substances. And then coming to the next digestive gland, the pancreas. So pancreas, this pancreas, it's a leaf-like structure. This pancreas, it is leaf-like structure and is seen between the stomach and the duodenum. And this pancreas, it is acting as exocrine and endocrine gland. It is acting as exocrine and endocrine gland. So in our body, the pancreas alone is acting as exocrine and endocrine gland. So exocrine gland means they are secreting enzymes. They are secreting enzymes. So enzymes like lipase, trypsin, etc. and they are having duct. So through the duct, the enzymes are secreted. Next, endocrine gland. Endocrine gland means they are ductless gland and they are secreting the hormones. So hormones like thyroxine, insulin, etc. So pancreas is alone acting as exocrine gland and endocrine gland. Now when you are taking this pancreas, it's a leaf-like structure. So on the upper surface of the pancreas, there are groups of cells. There are groups of cells called as islets of Langerhans. On the upper surface of the pancreas, there are groups of cells called as islets of Langerhans. On the upper surface of the pancreas, there are group of cells called islets of Langerhans. And these islets of Langerhans, they secrete two types of cells called alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha cells and beta cells. And these alpha cells, they secrete glucagon. Alpha secretes, they secrete the hormone glucagon, and beta cells, they secrete the hormone insulin. So see, this is pancreas, it's a leaf-like structure, and this pancreas, it secretes the juice called pancreatic juice, and this pancreas, it is acting as both exocrine and endocrine gland because it is secreting both enzymes and hormones. On the upper surface of the pancreas, there are group of cells called islets of Langerhans. And these islets of Langerhans, they secrete two types of cells called alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha cells, they secrete glucagon, and beta cells, they secrete insulin. Now from the duodenum, the food is slowly moved to ileum. And in the ileum, there are finger-like projections called villi, which is helpful for absorption of food and is taken to all parts of the body. The next one is large intestine. The unabsorbed and undigested food is passed into the large intestine. The large intestine is about 1.5 meter in length. The large intestine is about 1.5 meter in length. It is divided into three parts. They are cecum, colon, and rectum. So large intestine, it is divided into three parts: cecum, colon, and rectum. Cecum, it's a small blind pouch-like structure which is seen between the small intestine and large intestine. See here, this is small intestine and this is large intestine. So cecum, it is seen here. It is a small blind pouch which is seen between the small intestine and large intestine. From the blind end, a finger-like structure called vermiform appendix arises. This one, the vermiform appendix arises, and it is a vestigial organ. So vestigial organ means it's functionless. Vestigial organ means it's a functionless one. So this vermiform appendix, it's a vestigial organ in human being. The colon is much broader and is formed of ascending colon. This is ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. So colon, it is much broader. It is formed of ascending colon, then transverse colon and descending colon. Then the rectum, it's the last part which opens into the anus. So the rectum is the last part which opens into the anus. The undigested food materials, they are eliminated out through anal aperture called egestion. So what do you mean by egestion? The undigested food materials are eliminated out through anal aperture called egestion. So see here, just we can recall. So when you are taking the food, it enters into the mouth, then to pharynx, then it enters into the esophagus. From the esophagus, it enters into the stomach, and from the stomach, it enters into small intestine. The first part of small intestine is duodenum. This is duodenum. Duodenum, then here jejunum, ileum. Then it enters into the large intestine, then to rectum, and finally the waste materials are eliminated out through anus. I hope you all might have understood and you study this liver and pancreas as homework.